Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Speak, the podcast for teens. I am your host, Emily Miller, Teen Intuitive. All right, so I have a fun episode this week. I think y'all are going to like it. So last week was a full episode going like super into how the body reads like our emotions basically. So whenever we are sending out these energies, these emotions from our bodies, and they are out of alignment with what our higher self or source has intended for us, which is ultimately us thinking in any way, shape, or form that we are not perfect, that there is something wrong with us, that we should be some way different than we are. So anytime that we are thinking that way, our bodies are one of our biggest, loudest communicators to us to show us that we are out of alignment, that we are thinking less than about ourselves. And so, of course, what happens is the way the universe works is whenever there is a bunch of stuff like popping into your world, if you are hearing a lot about a certain thing or seeing a lot about a certain thing, and you just are noticing like these patterns of things popping up into your world, then you will start to understand that these things are like a preview for what you are about to experience. It's like a little warning sign saying, hey, Emily, you're hearing a lot about these things. You might want to look into it and see if you are sending out some of those things with your emotions, if you are putting into your creator field some of that. And so, what has been popping up a ton lately in my sessions with my clients, with my own children, and I even talked about it in the podcast last week, was not just acne, but like acne, but and then some face things for people. And it was all about people's perceptions of you, me, people, the way people perceive you, the way people think about you. So this was all like, popping up. And I typically talk to teens about this a lot because it is a really big thing for teens, middle schoolers and teens to experience like acne and to have things pop up in the face, because it becomes at that age for you guys, it is something that is very prevalent because it's a time in your lives where you start to really like worry and care about what other people think about you. So that's why a lot of times in that age group, there's like teenage acne, because we start caring at that phase in our lives, at that age in our lives, about what other people think about us. Think about how you are in like early elementary school and you just kind of like run around the playground, like not with a care in the world about what anybody else thinks. You are like playing imagination. You are running around chasing people like crazy animals. Like little kids just run, they play, they just act. They don't think about what other people think about them typically. They act more freely. And so by the time you get to middle school, high school, you start really caring about what other people think about you. And so I had been having a lot of that everywhere in all different areas of my life. And so what I should have done is been like, okay, hey, like this is probably a clue to you, Emily, that you need to start thinking about how you are feeling about people's perceptions of you. And if you are starting to worry about and think about what people think about you. And so I didn't because no matter how spiritual you get, sometimes you forget that you have these tools. Like you forget, okay, I need to be on the lookout. I know that if these things are popping up in my world, then it's something that it's a communication to me. Look into it, like see what's going on. And so I didn't. And I the universe had this really great plan for me. And I got this monstrous rash on my face. So it was like, it started as a tiny little dot on my face, and then it just started spreading. And then it came over here on my face, and then it just started spreading. And then I got a little spot on my nose, and it started spreading. And I was just freaking out. Like, anytime you get something like that, especially on your face, you're like, oh my God, what is going on? And so I got super emotional about it, which was like not mistake number one, because there are no mistakes, but it was like, clue number one, whenever you get those things, stop, pause, think, like, what's going on here? And because it was on my face, and I was just like, okay, I got to solve this. I got to figure it out. And what would have been the quickest to solve would have been for me to go, okay, what emotion am I having that's creating this on my face? And so instead of going and finding the emotional root cause, what I did was, I went back to this idea that Google knows better than me. And I started Googling, and I started like searching and trying to find, okay, well, if I'm having this symptom and I've been doing this, and if I could find a cure, like what's the solution here? What is my solution on Google? Thinking Google's going to be like my saving grace for this face rash that I was having. And so I was searching. I found this cream that was some cream, whatever. I bought that cream. I put it on my face. It didn't do anything. It started growing, getting worse. It turned into this, my cheeks are probably still like a tiny bit pink from it, but it turned into this bright red, burning, itching. It had little bumps in it. It was like almost, it was so bad, y'all. Like it was horrible. And it was here and here and here, and it was just everywhere. And so I was trying all these creams, doing all this Googling, and nothing was working. And I was like, Emily, oh my God, use your intuition. We have a joke in my house. And we have, you know how everybody's like, oh, just Google it. You don't have to find the answer. You're like, you just Google it. So in our house, we say, intuggle it. Like, so we're using your intuition, and our intuition is better than Google. So intuit it and intuggle it and see if you can find your answer. So I was like, duh, intuggle. What are you doing searching the internet? And immediately, the night I did this in the evening, it was like right before I went to bed, I got out like my journal, and I started writing out, okay, here's the symptoms, these are all the things. Your reflections tell a story, so you start from the beginning of when you started having the issue, and writing out all the different things and seeing like, okay, so this is how it started, these are the symptoms I'm having, this is where it is on my body, these are all the things. And then you can that's your home base basically, to figure out what is the root cause of what's going on in your body. Like that's the way that you would go about kind of decoding it, is finding this story of all the different things that are going on in the body. And so I wrote out all the things, and I was like, okay, what does this mean? And so it was face, and then it was rash, and then it was burning and itching and blistering and redness, and all of that is, in short, I'll just give you a quick rundown of what that would be. And the face is how people perceive you, which we just talked about, and what you think people think about you, okay? And then the redness and the pain is anger, so built up, held on to anger. And then the itching is irritation. And I actually didn't look into what the blistering part would be, but it's like bubbling up, so it would probably be something to do with like, again, just holding on to it. And so it's like bubbling up on the surface. You know how like emotions bubble up because they need to come out? That's how that would be. So I did that whole thing, and I wrote it out, and I was like, all right. So I started doing my decode of that. And the next morning I woke up, and immediately I was like, okay, I need to call a teledoc situation, because I knew that I'd let it go too far. And I was like, I need to do this. And so I called, they let me know it was, what do you call it? Contact dermatitis. Basically, it's like my skin was in contact with something that irritated it, which is even more goes to the story. So, like, I was in contact with someone who I had that irritation, that deep, like, anger irritation with, about the way that I thought that they were thinking about me. And so, we're just building on the story here of this reflection. And then she gave me a cream. She was like, okay, this cream is it's a steroid cream. And she's like, it's going to help with the inflammation. So there's another part of the story, the inflammation, because I didn't even think about that, because it was even swollen to the touch. Like, you could touch it like this and it would go up. So there's even more to the story. And anytime you have inflammation in the body, it's stored emotion. So again, like, it's just building on to these facts that I'm just keeping in this anger and irritation. And so, what was my point of this part? so I had this whole thing going on. Oh, and immediately after I, wrote all that stuff out, started trying to solve the problem. The next morning I woke up, had the hit, call these people, they can help you. They helped me. I put the cream on my face. Immediately, the swelling started going down. The redness and irritation released. Like, it was so quick. And if I hadn't done that, even if I would have gotten that cream and put it on, it might not have worked so quickly. But my point of this is that whenever you start to solve and figure out where the emotional root cause of anything that's going on in your body, literally anything, it will start opening up the path for solutions. So until you start to get to that emotional root cause, you are never going to get the best solution to solve the issue that you're having. And we'll get into more of that in a second. But another thing that I wanted to bring up about this too, because you guys are starting to learn about these body reflections, and as you start to learn about something, what happens is you will start to experience it. You'll start to experience more of these things. So as you learn about body reflections, you'll start to see that you are getting more reflections in your body that you are becoming more aware of. And it's not necessarily that you're getting more body reflections than you had before. It's that you're understanding that you're having them, knowing that there are solutions to them. And so you're becoming more aware of this going on within you because of the law of focus. So when you focus on things, remember, you get more of it. And so as you are focusing on learning these things, your higher self and source are going to give you these beautiful opportunities to figure out how to solve them on your own. They're going to be like, okay, hey, you're starting to learn about these body reflections. I'm going to give you some opportunities to level up. That is what these are all about. So as soon as you start getting these reflections, these body reflections, they start coming on, and you're like, holy crap, why am I getting so many body things? Like, that's how I'm feeling right now. And what it is that your higher self is like, okay, they're ready. Like, they are ready to start leveling up and having this, higher frequency, higher vibe life, to where they are able to create and allow these really cool things in their lives. And so these tiny little thoughts that you have, these little settlements, to where this situation where I got down to even who this person was that I was worried about what they were thinking about me. The issue was dumb. Like, it was really, really stupid. But what happened was I took that issue, that moment, and I did not process that emotion as it came in. And so because I didn't process it, I didn't let it go, I didn't get it out of my energy, I held on to it, and it grew and it grew and it started growing and growing on my face. And so I didn't I didn't even realize how much of that emotion I was holding on to. I got irritated and I got kind of pissed that these people didn't want to, do whatever. And then I held on to it and I didn't let it go, and I was like, I'll deal with that later. Well, here I'm dealing with it later. And I had a full week's worth of situation from the last time I podcasted to today, where it just kept growing and growing. And what happens too is that if I wouldn't have, figured out the emotional root cause of where this was coming from, what it would do is move into a different area of life. So this was like a big wake up call, because higher self knows, like, okay, Emily's going to want a podcast next week. And if she doesn't get this solved by next week, then, she's going to have to really like do some serious soul searching. So we're going to give her this big thing that we know that she's going to pay attention to get these emotions out of her body, to get rid of this limiting belief that she's having about herself, so that she can level up, so that she can move on, so that she can do bigger and better things. That's kind of how it goes. And so anytime that you are having like a bunch of reflections, a bunch of things where you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can handle one more thing. It's a body thing, a relationship thing, a money thing, whatever thing, and they're kind of like piling up, then that means that higher self and source are like, okay, they're ready. They are capable. They are able to be able to solve these reflections so that they can level up and start living their desired lives. This is like, it's like the coolest thing ever. A lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm just going to give up. It's too hard. I can't deal with this. And then they just, say, nope, I'm out. And that's what separates people who are going to be living on they're living their best lives, like, doing all the things, to the people who don't. It's that like perseverance, that drive, that will to make your life better, to be able to go from feeling helpless to having this like gorgeous sense of empowerment, and knowing that you are the one who can take control and like fix everything, from your body to your relationships to money to like all the things. And so that's just what I think is so cool about this, is that once you start getting these big life like shakeups, it just means that something really, really great is on its way to you. And source and higher self know that if you don't get the tools to learn how to, shift out of these emotional states, then you won't be ready for that next level. Like, if you don't learn these lessons, if you don't learn how, like if I didn't learn how these this one issue created such a big reflection for me in my face and how I thought people were thinking about me, then I wouldn't be able to be here like podcasting and saying all the things that I need to say to you guys in order to create the biggest life changes for you. So if I'm having these reflections and it's like, okay, we got to get rid of this. It's time for you to be done with that old way of thinking. It's time for you to move on from that and to learn what the real truth of the situation is. And just so you guys know this, like the truth of the situation is that, what other people think about us is really and truly none of our business. There was a little part of this reflection that I knew was missing, and I knew that there was something that I still needed to solve. And so I reached out to a friend who also does this, type of learning and healing and everything. And I was like, okay, I need some help. I know you are the best person. And so this is another solution that was given straight to me because I was doing the work and trying to figure out the emotional root cause of this. This solution came in. Reach out to this person. They can help you. They can give you your missing piece that you need to finish this reflection, to finish with it, to be done with it. And so I reached out to her. She's like, people's opinions of you are literally none of your business. That's their own thing. whatever people think about you has nothing to do with you. Whatever people think about you has everything to do with them. And Source planned it for them to have that perception of you, and you don't have to worry about them. You worry about you because that's all that you can control. So, literally, like, don't worry about what other people think about you because what does it matter? Source is taking care of them, so we don't have to, right? So that's another thing too. Like, it's once you start solving these, the solutions just start flowing. They start coming, and they come quickly so that you can be done with this. This all these The rash was like so bad. I'm trying to think of what day it was because it was such a long weekend. It was really bad even on Saturday. Today's Monday, so it was horrible on Saturday. It took 24 hours only for it to go from inflamed, red, blistering, painful, swollen to looking like this. Like, it just went away, like it cleared. So whenever you are able to dig in and find, like, okay, here's what's causing this, you're fixing that emotional problem, we'll say. It's not a problem, but you're fixing that emotional settlement that you had about yourself and feeling this way. And then it clears, it goes away, like, and it goes away very quickly. One other part about this I'll add is that the longer that you have this emotion, then the longer that it will take to clear it. So this one was like a 2-week situation, right? And so I was able to clear it super quick. But sometimes, and there's other things that I have that I'm in the process of healing that are taking a lot longer because it's things that have happened from whenever I was in the age of 7. So, and it's built up and it's become a bigger thing. So as I'm getting the tools and learning how to solve this other issue, is it's taking a little bit longer because it took so long to build. So from age 7 to now I'm 42, it's something that just grows and grows, and the more time that you have it, the more you have rooted to that old way of being. It takes a little bit more time. So, and it doesn't take still a long time, but it just takes a little bit longer. When things are stored deeper in the body, it takes a little bit longer, and you've felt that certain way for such a long time, it takes a little longer to move it out. And as it's moving out, the healing happens really quickly. But to get it back to like 100% exactly how you want it to be, that's what you got to kind of think of. So it's like you trekked all the way up this mountain and it was hard work, like getting there. And so you still got to come back down. And so your little trip down the mountain, while going downhill is way easier than it is going uphill, it's still a trek. So it gets easier and easier, and the weight becomes less and less, and it's something that's really easy to heal once you get there. Okay, and so the last thing I think I really want to say about this, is that it's not, you have to think about this too. So going back to my issue that I had this week, when your body is communicating something to you, it's never going to be your body that's the problem. It's never going to be a physical thing that's actually the problem. While there are going to be physical actions you have to take, that's not going to be the ultimate solution to your problem. So you have to figure out, and I do this using intuition, and I do it for my clients, I do it for myself, I do it for my family. You find that emotional root cause, and then you find the area of life where you have been making that settlement. So mine for the face was in the financial area of life, and then tagged in a little bit of social. So like I was thinking people weren't seeing my value, and which is the financial part. And then and it was social because it was people that were in like my social realm or whatever, like people that I run into. It's not family. So two sets of things you can either, with people, is they can either be family, and those would be, people who you are living with, parents, grandparents, siblings. And then, like, once you get older, move out of the house with your family, then the people who will then be added into your family would be people who you live with. So like let's say you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you move in with them, then they become your family. Once you move in with somebody, then they're considered like family. And then the social area would be boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, people you run into at the grocery store, people who you pass in the halls at school, all those kind of people, teachers, whatever, just anybody else who's not family is considered social. So anytime you're having a physical issue, it's never going to be because there's something actually wrong with your body. I mean, there is, but that's not what's causing it. So whenever you are thinking about, like, well, let's go to this, like thinking about traditional medicine and how that works, it's a lot of addressing the issue from just the physical symptoms part. And so basically what that does is it just puts a band-aid over it. So it's like, trying to put a band-aid over a fire hose. Like, it's not going to do anything to it. It's just going to burst out and make a bigger mess, right? So that's how I kind of like to think about that, is that it's not the body's fault. The body's never working against you. The body is just communicating to you, hey, this is what's going on with you in a different area of life. And that's where you need to start doing like your soul searching. That's where we need to like switch these beliefs that you're having about yourself. And so a thing that comes to mind with this is, like, if you think about people who have plastic surgery and they go and they want to get a nose job because they don't like how their nose looks or whatever. And then they get a nose job and then they're like, oh, but I don't like my lips. And then they go get lip filler. And then they're like, oh, but I got a wrinkle right here. And then they go get Botox. And then they think, oh, I want bigger boobs. And they go get a boob job or a BBL or whatever the things are, liposuction. They start getting these things. It's because, and like, then they get addicted to the plastic surgery. And that's because they're fixing things from the outside in rather than from the inside out. And so anytime you're working from the outside in, you're never going to get the result that's desired. You're always going to be unsatisfied and you're always going to keep searching for more. And that's kind of how the traditional, like, Western medicine is going right now, is they fix things from the outside, not from the inside. And so if you don't fix things from the inside, then you're never going to get the 100% best solution that's going to actually solve the physical issue. Because if the universe is not going to give you that, the universe will be like, hey, they're not ready for that. If I give them that solution, then they're just going to go and mess it up anyway. If I tell them, like, oh, this is the exact right thing, this is the right way that you need to do it, and then you go do that, but you still feel crappy on the inside, then that solution is not even going to work for you. It's not going to do all the things that it needs to do. I could have been applying this cream on my face for the next 2 weeks and had no sort of healing if I didn't start healing from the inside first. And so the best part about this, and just knowing all of this information, is that once you start to look for the inside issue rather than looking from the outside, rather than Googling it, we could intoogle it. Because Google's never going to have the right answer. Like, they'll show you the answer once you get to the emotional part, but you can Google all day long, and if you don't use your intuition, you don't tap into what's really going on, then you're never going to get the full 100% solve. You might get a solve that works for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, but it's not going to be the thing that gets that emotion out of you forever. And And that's the amazing thing about like knowing this, is that you can get these emotions out of you forever. You can release these things. And because we're human beings, we're always going to have reflections. But we're also human beings that have a very spiritual connection, and we can figure out how to solve all of these things. And then the last thing that I'll leave you with is the best information that I learned whenever I first started learning about reflections, is that just acknowledging that you created this reflection, that you created this thing in your body that's making you not feel good, just acknowledging that will release some of the symptoms by like 65%, which is phenomenal. Like I was like, okay, higher self and source just want you to know, like, you're creating this. You're the one who did this. So if you're like, hey, I did this and I know that I can solve it, then it's like, oh, okay, we can let go of some of this. And then you can get to the point where you're like actually getting down to like the solves of this. Okay, so what is this body part communicating to me? What does this body part mean? And then what area of life am I finding it in? And then you can be done with it. You can solve it. You can flip it. You can go to the real like source truth of what these emotions really are. So, I said this last week, but next week we're going to get into some of like the emotional part of how to release these emotions so that we don't keep them stored in our body, and just be able to get rid of them. So this week I want for you guys to start taking a little responsibility and saying, I created this. I created this. What is something that I can do to solve it? How can I get rid of this? How can I shift out of this? How can I move away from this? And think like, okay, and just ask yourself, what did I do to create this? And source and higher self will let it ease up. So that's just such a cool thing. And I also wanted to remind you guys to click on the links in the show notes. I have a sign up for my email list. And the email list I'm going to be sending out for webinars. They're free. They're going to be completely, totally free, but they are exclusive to people who are on my mailing list. And I'm going to start sending out emails there with invitations to these webinars for everybody who's on my email list. And in there, we are going to start learning some like practices to figuring out how to block our energy, like keep our energy safe, how to start solving some of these kind of reflections. It'll be really fun, like tools, like actual physical things that you guys can start doing to start having the power to solve these issues that you're having. So be sure to sign up for that, and make sure this week that you are starting to take responsibility for all the things that are happening in your life, especially the things going on within the body, and have a gorgeous, gorgeous week.